ready? I think I am. Let's see if you are. We good? We got that going. That's fine. And I think we're good there. Let's just get this one. Let's get this one in the books. We'll go. We'll kill the rock music. Pause the music. Pause the band. Pausing the band. Reducing the tomato. Well, let's lose the tomato. We'll come back to that whole thing. That is right. That was my towel. I use a brown towel. Cleaned up for the act on this one. So Tomato Talk, what is Tomato Talk? It is top of mind, advancing through opportunities. And when you take advantage of those opportunities in a big way, it's a win for everybody. Could they be business opportunities? Absolutely. Nonprofit opportunities? Without a doubt. Mix the two together and boom, you actually got magic happening. Man, we're all involved in so many things, so many good things. Shouldn't that be shared? Of course. That's the inspiration for everything, is it not? It's also a great way to build your brand using your voice. If you're a person and if you're a business to consumer or a small business nonprofit, you're part of that whole thing. Or maybe it's a little bit more than that. Maybe you need the back side, the back office side of it, the paperwork, the image, commercials and stuff like that. And that is why I pair up with my buddy, my teammate in so many of these things. That's right. That is right. That is Arthur Germain, Brand Telling. That's a B2B, business to business brand telling organization. Focusing on, you read it here, brand storytelling for technology firms. And now that we're done with that commercial, let's get right to it. Oh, no, look at it. That's me. All right. Anyhow, we're there. I don't know. One of these days, I actually want to video the intro to this thing and play the video of it instead of flipping through this stuff, instead of it just that music in the beginning there. So we shall see how that progresses. But anyhow, that would be me. That would be me. Let's remove me. I'm going to jump ahead a slide or two over here, and we'll bring that stuff up. But, man, as I said in there, that's why I'm wearing all black today. Someone stole my catalytic converter. Don't ask me what it is. I don't know. I've said that time and time again here. You know, with the drag race and the auto industry, I don't know, but I do know. I do know that when I started my car yesterday afternoon, it sounded like I should have been at a racetrack, not on my driveway with the noise over there. Hey, maybe if I was Don Garlics or something like that, you know, you start the car and, you know, you make, but man, all right, let's not get around the video. And if you don't know who Big Daddy is, then you got to get to know the man. He's unbelievable, historically speaking, unbelievable, current and future too. Electric dragsters. I'm going to whisper that because I know with too many of you, you know, engine type people hear this whole thing. Yikes. Electric is coming. We're going to save that whole video for another day. But yeah, Mike, Doug, good to see you there. Yo, man. Oh, yeah. They took your son's catalytic. It sucks. So where this is in the car, if you don't know, and now I know, you know, the rest of it. And it turns out that my car, this, you know, car has two catalytic converters. I didn't know. The only way I found that out is after I brought it down the garage. So here's what happened, right? So Wednesday night I come home, all well and good, you know, from work, whatever. I get home Thursday, went no place during the day. Thursday afternoon, started the car because I was going to head out for a little bit, and I sounded like I was destined for the racetrack with that whole thing. But even those cars had more mufflers than this one did, so they were actually quieter than this thing was. So I was like, all right, you know, so what happened? Well, what happened is they took 3/4 of the muffler system, which included, well, they just took the catalytic converter, but everything else got disconnected or cut apart, whatever. Obviously not doing a neat job, but there's somehow 2 catalytic converters. The first one they couldn't get to because of all the undercarriage stuff, I guess. Second one they did, took it. Whatever they did with the rest of it, gone. You know, messed up, whatever. So I got to replace 3/4 of the entire muffler system on this car. Frustrating. Yeah, I would have to say so. Did the police report and everything like that. You know, here's what I found out after speaking to my garage guy. Hey, I'm not the only one. He's had issues that have been brought to his attention with that whole thing. He's like, you know, by all means, you know, file a report, do that whole thing, file the report. All right, all well and good. Very sympathetic police department, folks over at the 6th Precinct, which is the precinct that I use. Great people. And I had an officer here after making the initial phone call, probably within a half an hour. It might have been less. And obviously, I told him, I said, look, I don't even have a car here. It's at the garage. So there's no rush. There's nothing going on. I mean, today, Monday, Tuesday, it didn't make a difference. Half hour. So support your local police, my friends. They deserve it. They deserve it. We could probably throw in some percentage there. I know the current news on that one. Again, we're going to save that whole topic, for another day. But these folks, really great, came down, very sympathetic in the whole thing. And, we've had a police car vehicle unit, in our area at night every once in a while too. And I was like, it really stinks that it's around here. And what I was told is that it's not just around here. It's quite extensive. It's terrible. And Mike mentions over here, his son had it stolen too. It's like, what would you do? It really gets to the whole crux of this thing. And the crux of a lot of things here with his gun issue that's out there too. What would you do? I mean, what would I have done? Realistically speaking, and I can tell you right now, 100%, without a doubt, realistically speaking, I don't know. I don't know. I'm sitting in the comfort of a room over here. I got the camera. I got you guys. I got, whatever, the machine on this side of life. Had a couple cups of coffee, maybe too many, snack. And I'm going to tell you now how I would have acted if there was a group of people or a person. I don't know. I get the video cameras too, and none of that got picked up. So that's on the frustrating side. But what would I have done? What would you have done if you actually saw them doing this? What would you have done? Would you have run out there in the middle of the night in your pajamas? Hey, get away from my car. Would you have grabbed a gun if you had one and gone out there guns a-blazing, or whatever, at least threatening to use it and stopped them like that? Would you have crawled under the covers and say, oh my gosh, hopefully they don't, there's no intention of coming in the house? Or maybe call the police. Might be the smart thing to do. Maybe call the police, crawl under the covers with your phone and call the police and say, hey, this is what's going on at the house. Think about that. I know the smart answer to that would be crawl under the covers with the phone, call the police, and say, hey, this is what's going on at the house. And let the chips fall where they may, and that kind of thing. That would be the smart thing to do. The rest of that stuff, don't know. It gets into this whole big thing here with the gun control issue and stuff like that. Or even let's go with something a lot more simplistic, getting into a car accident. What would you do? I mean, do you ever have a friend gets into a car accident or gets into a car accident, right? And like, oh, why didn't you swerve? I would have hit the brakes. I wouldn't have done that. I would have gone this way. I would have gone that way. Really? How could you say what you would have done if you're not thinking and reacting? You're just reacting. Where's your experience with the whole thing? And watch this. I could tie this whole thing, with this racetrack idea. All right. But you don't know. And this is the most interesting thing of them all, right? You don't know what you're going to do until you actually do it. And maybe you've done it repeatedly, and now you know what you're going to do because you're trained to just do. That's a military way of thinking, right? You go in, you train. It's repetitive. You do it over and over and over and over again. You're doing the same thing over and over and over again. And then it becomes just like clockwork. Football players, let's go with something even nicer, right? Football plays, basketball plays, hockey, whatever sports, running, right? If I'm going to run, the marathon or something like that, you train for it. What are you training for? To become a better runner in your stride? Perhaps. There's different ways of doing that. If you're going to get a gun, you need to know how to operate that gun. You need to become more proficient in using that gun. If I'm going to run a marathon, I need to become very proficient in the way I run. want to make sure I'm not wasting energy, by running with my hands in the air like this. You want to keep them there, keep them moving with the strides. This way the whole body's got a rhythm going, very nice and smooth, feeling happy, feeling glorious, 5 miles, 10 miles, 15 miles, even further. It's like, oh my God, it don't matter. I'm in my zone. I'm in my zone. You're in the zone. That means you're doing the same thing repeatedly in a manner that you've been trained to do. Those football players, you got a play that's going on. How long does a play last? I have no idea how long a plays last. You're not talking about Mr. Athlete over here. Play lasts a couple of seconds. That's a lot of things going on in those couple of seconds. They are trained to do the same thing time and time again. Why? Because when that ball gets snapped and the play's in motion, they don't have to think about what they're supposed to do. They then get a chance to think about what they need to do in the moment to adapt to whatever is going on. Right? Same thing with running, right? If I'm running the marathon or running a long distance and I'm proficient at running a long distance, then I don't have to worry about what it's like to run a distance. I then just have to worry about what it's like to adapt to the conditions. If it's really windy, and I did run the marathon one day when it was like super windy, it's like, holy mackerel, what do? You can't really get out of the wind, and that kind of thing. You do that NASCAR thing. You tuck in behind somebody and make believe they're breaking the wind for you. No, it didn't work that way. But it was wind. Going over the Verrazano Bridge when that wind was blowing, I don't know, it was like 20, 30 miles an hour. It's like, holy mackerel. That was a brutal way to start that thing. All right. But maybe it's the heat that you got to deal with. Maybe it's the cold that you got to deal with. But you know how to run. So you're just adapting to that moment. So you're going to have a gun. You better be really, really good with that gun and be able to shoot the gun straight and, be proficient in the use of it and loading it and all the rest of that kind of stuff. All good. But what would you do when that moment arises? Hey, look, when that wind was blowing on the marathon, I hate to use that as an example, but I'm going to, and it's a real simple one, right? Just imagine the Verrazano Bridge. I'd venture to say most of everybody has been over the Verrazano Bridge, perhaps by car. Perhaps you felt the wind a little bit in your car. The bridge sways a little bit. And it does sway a little bit. All these things meant to sway a little bit. You're doing that. Well, if you are trying to figure out how to drive a car over a bridge and it sways, you get a lot of things going on. If you're very comfortable with driving over the bridge, then the swaying thing is something a little different, not the whole aspect of it. So what are you going to do? You're just going to keep on driving. There's nothing there, But if you're running a long distance, you're doing anything, and you guys can, relate to this in your own ways, when you're pushing yourself in some aspect of something, and you're really proficient in that, then you can adapt to other things that are going on. But do you really know what you're going to do until you're doing it? The answer is no. The answer definitely is not. Running a long distance. Best weather for that marathon thing, which is in November, something around 60 degrees, give or take, whatever. Something, in that, right? Very light wind, 60 degrees. Perfect day for running. Everything else, you got to adapt to the moment. So, water. Let's go with that. Real hot day, right? You need to drink water. How much water do you drink? How do you adapt to that? You got to think and speak. You got to think and run, not speak, but think and run. At the same time, figure out, is it every water stop? Is it 2 water stops? Do I take 2 cups of water? How do you do? How do you do with it? You don't know. You and I could sit here. We could talk about this, but you wouldn't know until you're there in the moment, and then you're going to react to that moment. So what would you do if you caught somebody stealing a converter outside of your house? You are locked in your house. You got your alarm on probably, and they're outside. What would you do? What would you do? And this happens in so many situations, just as well. We've seen that at, we could take the drag racing thing and throw that into the equation. What would you do? You going down the track and the car gets a little loose. What do? You let off the gas. Would you? Or do you let adrenaline run the day? What would you do? You don't know. You're not going to know until you're actually doing it. You wouldn't know And maybe you would know if you've been through that thing a couple of times. Now you know what you would do because you've been there. That's the practice and repeat kind of thing. Business, same story. What do you do when sales are slow? What do you do? How do you handle it? How do you handle it? Not worry about it because business cycles come and go. We're good. We have been through this before. Ah, there you go. Now that's experience speaking. You've been through it before. So what does that mean? In good times, you need to put money away. This way to help you ride out some of those slower periods of time. You know that. Maybe you know that, hey, you know what? This is a good time for us to cut prices and be part of the community. Maybe that depends upon who you are, what you do, and the rest of that. We're going to lower our recession pricing. I think I've seen some of that. And then you lower and you're part of the community. You look like a hero. Maybe you keep prices the same and decide, you know what? My product is worth X amount of dollars. My skill set, my coaching ability, my whatever service you provide is worth a certain amount of money. And you're not cutting your prices. But maybe you do understand that, hey, there's a slower economy. Some of your clients are just not going to be able to afford you. So now you take the approach of advertising more, looking at different ways in order to, dare I say, use your voice to build your business, build your brand. But maybe it's you take the approach of advertising more. Take a look at digital advertising or print ad or something like that. Hey, more people at home in the house, maybe mail. Could you imagine actually mailing something? Mailing a letter to someone? Getting a letter, not an email, but a letter in the mail? I actually looked into that, just a little sidebar kind of thing, because, do I ever stay truly on topic? Probably not. Anyhow, let's talk about that. So how do you, and that. So I thought about like, hey, what if you sent an envelope with the wax on the back and your seal on that? That would be kind of cool, right? That would certainly separate you. Maybe it's not using your voice to build your brand, build your business, but it is using something totally unique in order to do that, which I think is pretty cool. But you just don't know, and I get frustrated when people say, "Oh, I would have." No, unless you are some authority and really have explained it out in some way. If that police officer that came over here and, we were talking about it and I asked him what he would have done, you know what? His background's totally different than mine. Maybe he would have come right out of the house. That maybe he would have decided that, if they've already cut the thing, it's gone. It's not going to happen, but he could arrest them. So, maybe so. Maybe it's a different thing. I don't know. But I don't know what I would have done in that situation. So let's go. My wife always likes when I talk politics here. You want to talk politics? We'll talk about gun control. You want to talk about these shootings and everything like that? Did you know? Who even sees these things anymore, right? How terrible is this? What would you do if the next time you turn on the news and you hear about a gun shooting? In the past, we used to be glued to the TV. Glued to the TV. Oh my gosh. How could that have happened? Remember the shooting that took place at the schools? Parkland and some of these others? How does that happen? Why in the world? We don't even get that reaction anymore. Terrible. I don't know why we don't, but we don't. We've gotten cold to it. We've gotten cold to so much negativity, in there. That's terrible. It really is. That is something I find just to be very long-term disconcerting. Because if we're not paying attention to that, and I don't mean that we should be glued to the TV paying attention to it, but if you took yours out, yeah, that's it. I got a sign on the back of my car. I don't have a catalytic converter. You can't have it. I have it. But if you can't, if we're not paying attention to these things, right, and just being glued to the TV and watching what's going on, it's like, all right, well, you know what? We should know, we should care, we should be all of those things. Still, nothing's being done. Nothing's being done.
This goes into the gun control kind of a thing. It's like, what is going to transpire to get that to change? Or are we like, it's just part of our society? Terrible, terrible. These massive gun shootings are part of our society. Our society, not even the world society, but it's our society. It's terrible. That comes to the other. What would you do? Can you imagine? Can you imagine? I don't see how you couldn't imagine, but some shooting and something closer to home. What would you do? You'd freaking panic, right? You'd panic. And what would you do? That's what you do. That kind of thing. Changing the gun laws. Someone had suggested having guns in Congress. Everybody carries a gun in Congress. I don't think so. Well, every citizen should have a gun. Again, I don't think so. Let's go back with the what would you do kind of a thing. What would happen if everybody was armed? It'd be like the Wild West again. Everybody, imagine that shootouts. The way I forget what they call them, whatever. Gunfights. They're like that. 10 paces. That's crazy stuff. And is that the fix to gun violence? More people having guns? That's the fix? Come on, really? That's not a fix. That's not a fix. Why is it? Why? It's always the why, right? You watch any of these business shows, any place, always say, oh, why did you get into this? What was it, the catalyst? That's my favorite one. What was the catalyst that got you in some direction? I've been thinking about how to introduce the event that I'm doing on Monday. It's like, what is it that moved this guy to become a chef? What is it? What sends us into some direction? So that's a business side of it. But what sends some of these people into the idea, a 6-year-old, what sends some of these people into the idea that having a gun and shooting somebody or shooting multiple people is a good idea? Where is that? It is not a good idea. It is absolutely not a good idea. And I can only imagine the problem, the scene that would be if everybody was armed and somebody shoots. You get the bad guy, seems to be guys too, he's the shooter, and then you don't know where the hell it's coming from. You're not experienced in this stuff, and everybody just thinks everybody who's shooting a gun is the bad guy because they don't wear a sign that says, hey, I am the bad guy. What a mess that would be. So why is all that shit happening? Well, I finally cursed on this thing. Why is all this stuff happening, in the first place? Why? I wish I had the answer to that one. I don't know. I hope somebody knows. I know my own thinking, is that if nobody's getting bullied, maybe nobody gets desperate. Nobody thinks that having a gun and shooting somebody is the answer. Maybe, just maybe, if people, including a 6-year-old, has the idea that they could communicate in some manner where they're being listened to in some manner, where they're able to express their emotions in some manner, is the way to approach this thing. Hey, that would be an interesting thought. We could speak better and listen more. Maybe some of these people that have gone astray wouldn't go astray. Maybe they wouldn't get so unbelievably pissed and desperate that they would use these other weapons, to go out there and do that. It'd be nice if countries learn that one too. Well, let's go with individuals here before we go fixing the world. Fixing the world is definitely not an easy thing. And hey, what's going on in Russia? It's just in the Ukraine, it's just absolutely horrendous. But that's it. So what in the world would you do in a shooter situation? I don't know. Man alive, I don't know. And if you had a gun, would you use it? Would you use it? Could you really shoot somebody? Forget the sarcastic comments with everybody here. Think about that. Would you really have the capabilities to shoot someone? If they're aiming a gun at you and you're aiming a gun at them, would you have the capabilities? Maybe more so, but you still got to be able to do it. If they don't have a gun and you have a gun and you're not willing to use it, but they're willing to take it from you and then use it, where does that get you? That's not a good scenario either. What would you do? You got to be trained to do it. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you should go ask a police officer if push comes to shove. Could you actually shoot, kill somebody? I mean, I certainly hope the police officers are trained to the point to do that. Military is too. But what happens the first time you do that? I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. And I hope I'm never in that kind of a situation, as that goes. But what would you do? So, on that note of what would you do, what do we got there? Gun control is definitely a heavy topic. So, you know what? Look, my take on the whole thing, is that I don't know. I don't think everybody should be armed. That's fine. You know, the AK-47s, these assault rifles, I don't see why regularly U.S. citizens need that kind of a thing. Don't see it. And maybe if you have to own one, and you're at, you go through the background check, you then keep it at whatever gun place you use those things with. You're not taking them hunting. That's ridiculous. Okay. That's just ridiculous. We just move on to another topic, on that one. But maybe you do it. There's a rifle range that you go to, that's got, some of these big guns that you could be used, and you get the thrill of shooting that thing. You know what? Keep it there. Keep it there. That's the trade-off. You want an AK-47? Okay. Find a gun range that's qualified to allow you to shoot an AK-47. Fantastic. Okay. All well and good. But you need to leave the gun there. All right. Or if you are going to go from one certified AK-47 gun range to another certified range, it goes into a case. Maybe it gets, like those plastic tie-ons that you see on the back of tractor trailers. This way it shows that nobody opened it. But put it in a case, put the plastic tie-on the whole thing with some sort of serial number. This way place A could verify with place B that it got there without it being opened. Same way like a truck driver would have with the back of the truck not being open. Something like that. Is that unreasonable? I think to normal, regular citizens, probably not. To a legal gun using person, probably not. I don't know. I never asked. Probably not. But background check certainly makes sense. But here's the thing that needs to happen, I think, in my humble opinion on this whole thing, is the fact that we need to start talking to our younger people. We need to start talking to our younger people about the possibilities of expanding their horizons, the possibilities of positive things going on, the possibilities of careers, the possibility of them following their dreams, the possibilities of continued growth in their world. That's what it's all about, right? America paved with gold, is it not? Somebody mentioned, it's like, why is it that all these many, many other countries have seen people leave and they're coming here? Why are they coming here? Well, many people still think we're paved with gold. I don't know if it's paved with gold, but it certainly is a land of opportunity. We've seen a lot of people achieve levels of success that are just astronomical. Got some of the richest people in the world here. People rising to levels of titles. I gotta try not to get myself hung into a corner on the political side of things, but people achieving levels of success that are just unbelievable, really just unbelievable, or just great achievements of different things, inventing different products. How many products are invented because of mistakes? How many people have invented products that we don't even know who they are? The rest of that stuff, it's here. It's great. People become rich, become successful, grow families, do all kinds of things here. We could do this. But those that lose that way, those that don't think that this is the land of opportunity, those that give up, those that are having problems, why are we not paying attention to them? And if we pay more attention to that, maybe that would be the mental health control that gets along with it. And maybe that'll continue to grow. Not just a matter of making sure that everybody gets, gun checks and all the rest of that stuff, which I think should happen. But arming everybody, no. Giving everybody the thought that, yes, tomorrow can be a better day than today. Yeah. I definitely think so on that. That's your job. Let's see if we could do that each and every day. Maybe we can give somebody hope that tomorrow will be a better day than today is. Let's hope that these folks that stole my catalytic converter can, whatever, find some other way to make a living rather than stealing people's car stuff, which is really crazy, you know. And I did speak to my garage guy, see if he could make the same thing sound like, a race car. He thought I was nuts. Whatever. I need a new sound system in the car. This way make it sound cool. Because it's not. Do what you can do to help people along, my friends. That's it. That's today's goal. That is today. You use your voice to build your brand, build your business. That's all well and good. But you know what really is good? If you speak well, you speak often, and you live inspired and help somebody else to do exactly the same thing. Have a great day.